well, welcome again. Hegan, Kogan, and A10, and today we're talking about FDR and the New Deal program. And just a quick review: his New Deal program goal was to end the Great Depression, but when we kind of get specific as to what his goals were, you can break them down into 3 R's: relief, recovery, and reform.
We have relief for those who are unemployed, those who are poor. Recovery is helping the economy to recover, and the reform to make sure another depression such as this could never happen again.
And probably the 2 reform programs that we might touch on today are still around today.
Still
so
around.
that gives you an idea of the legacy and the goal and how worthy and how efficient it was, or how necessary it
And the
was.
success of it.
And the success of it
Yeah.
as well. When it comes to the New Deal programs, they don't end the Depression. All right, so
Only one thing does.
Yep. So when we're looking at these New Deal programs, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some sources from this particular time period to kind of get an idea of what is the public's response to it. So as we're looking at some of these some of them are political cartoons, and political cartoons, of course, are making a statement. That's one of the other things we have to keep in mind. We have a photo in here, and we also have a poster. So there's a lot you can go, a lot of different avenues or directions you can go with primary sources when it comes to analyzing them when you have different purposes or different goals in mind. So maybe we should start off with this one.
Yeah, starting off here, with my class, I like to talk about, where are we? We're in somebody's home.
Yep.
And I have to bring up that in the 1930s, really into the 1950s, you didn't go to the doctor. Doctor came to you.
Yeah, house calls.
Doctor made house calls. And here we see FDR, hat off, with his bag of New Deal remedies. And I'm sure most of you had your little doctor's kit growing up,
Right.
with your fake stestoscope and the little
And a
fake
lot of people
shots.
don't know what that is.
Right.
I mean, unless you've had that toy,
Yes.
and somebody took the time to explain it to
Yes.
you, and you remember it from when you were 5.
Yeah. So here comes the doctor to the house, along with his assistant, his nurse, who is Congress. The patient, many people recognize right away because of the goatee, the white hair, is Uncle Sam. I like to point out, you also notice the stars on the pants,
And the US
the
on the
stripes on the
slippers.
socks, and the U.S. on the slippers.
But what are all these things then?
Those are the remedies.
Yep.
Those are the different little bottles of medicines
We have our connection right there.
that we're going to try to cure the patient with. He's saying, of course, we may have to change remedies if we don't get results. FDR was famous for a quote of, I forget exactly how it goes, but it's basically like, common sense dictates you try something. If it doesn't work, admit it, but above all, try something. That's much different than Hoover's
Exactly.
hands-off approach.
Exactly.
That we're just gonna try something. And here we see all those different letters, all that different alphabet soup that it's commonly referred to as. You wanna?
It's funny because the New Deal programs, when you look at the list of the New
Oh
Deal
my
programs,
goodness.
this is only a fraction of it. Only a fraction of the New Deal
I know, you found that
programs.
website. 75
Yeah.
plus different programs, agencies, laws, executive orders that come out of the New Deal program. I think I only touched on 10 in
That's
class.
about it, yeah.
I only touched on 10. And I really like to point out, which bottle of medicine is the largest?
The NRA.
The NRA, not the National Rifle Association.
Everybody confuses that.
In the 21st century, late 20th, 21st century, that's what people jump right to. And I like it as much larger,
Yes.
because you get into the NRA, which was really like the baby of the New Deal. That was FDR's baby. He had publicity campaigns
Oh, yeah.
for the NRA. There were parades to talk about how great the NRA is
A lot
going
of
to be.
posters with that eagle symbol going into the stores
Yep.
as well. So that was really a big deal. When we're looking at whether this is positive towards FDR or negative, we definitely say he's positive.
Yeah, he's doing something.
Yep.
He's doing something.
He's a doctor.
Yep.
Doctor is someone who's positive, and there's quite a few cartoons from this time period where he is the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He's also shown standing. A lot of political cartoons, when you're looking at it, they're showing him presidential. Here he is standing.
I use a political cartoon of another version. He's in the doctor, Uncle Sam is the patient,
Yep.
and the top of the cartoon says, "Confidence in your doctor is half the battle." And how does he try to gain America's confidence? Those fireside chats.
And now you start to see much more positive words associated with FDR. Confidence. You will probably, if it's not spelled out in anything, it's definitely in the background. Hope as well. is
Even
really
his
important.
wordings of things, like Hoover tried a bank closing the banks too. He called it a bank moratorium.
Yeah.
Where when FDR does it, it's a bank holiday. It's a much happier term.
So we have some nice positive words. I'm just realizing I forgot hope was right over here
Yeah.
as well. But again, when you're talking about the confidence and you're talking about the hope, and now FDR, it looks like right here you're dealing cards.
And if you've ever played cards, that is the moment of hope.
That is the moment of hope.
You know,
that
if,
is,
if you're playing Texas Hold'em, you're hoping you get 2 aces dealt to you.
or 4.
Yeah, yeah. This must be a game of stud. But yeah, you're hoping for that great deal. I when I go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City, I play blackjack.
course.
So you're hoping for that first ace or a king, and then you're hoping for that 21. So that there's that hope that the New Deal gives to the American people.
So since you're saying New Deal, you can't see FDR in this particular cartoon. However, what winds up happening, just based on everything that's going on, protection of gold, the gold standard, the bank holiday, budget message, inaugural address, bank legislation, and the fact that you have this sleeve here with the stars and probably the
US,
stripe somewhere,
in
and
the
the US on the button, and the fact this is New Deal. You can't see him, but this is him.
Right. And let's not forget
Yeah.
that inaugural address. The message of hope there, that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Absolutely.
It's like that pep talk.
Yes.
Come on, guys, you can do this. It's that coach at halftime. All right, we're down, guys, but we're going to get him now.
And I'm glad you're bringing up coaching and the pep talk, because he had to give a lot of them.
Yes.
This New Deal didn't end.
Yeah.
The New Deal didn't end the Depression, and you're talking the only thing that really ends it is World War One,
I
World War
picture-
II, and 1941.
I picture Herb Brooks before the 1980 hockey game. If you've ever seen the movie Miracle.
Yeah.
And I'm sick and tired of hearing how bad the Great Depression is.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
almost like FDR would say.
And you're talking, this is like 12, 13 years of pep talks. And trying to do as much as you can to, get reelected, to end the Depression, to get people off your back, maybe. So when we're looking here, I might need my eyes, and I do. All right, so when we're looking here, again, the first thing that we may have brought up to you in previous ones was that the first thing he needed to address was the banks. And, you had that fireside chat that goes along with the bank holiday. And what do you know? We have a telegram. So this is a Western Union telegram. You don't hear too much of these today because it's much faster to send a text or an email.
But this was a text message.
Yeah, or even a fax if
Yeah.
people still even use that. But just to read what's on here, the guaranteeing of bank deposits by the federal government will completely restore confidence in banks and cause an unprecedented revival of business. Stop anything less than 100% guarantee will be accepting by the public as only temporary and will not meet the situation. Russellville Chamber of Commerce. And again, this is bringing up the banks. Restore confidence.
Revival of business.
And that's why I got tripped up. I'm like, oh, there's that word confidence
Yeah.
again. And we look at these documents quite a bit, and you forget that certain words are going to be played out throughout all of this: confidence, hope, and all of these wonderful things.
Yeah, so first absolute argument in favor of
Yep.
the New Deal. It ended the
The
banking crisis.
Yep.
The FDIC still around today. You walk into any bank. I shouldn't say any bank. You walk into most banks in this country, you will see FDIC insured. The places that aren't are like those cash checking business. We cash your checks.
Really wouldn't even be considered a bank.
No, they're not. But
Yeah.
because they deal in finances,
Right.
but those things there are not backed.
I
by
mean,
the,
I remember growing up
FDIC.
hearing the bank commercials saying, "Hey, we're membership FDIC," or seeing the sticker. So, again, we're looking at this. A couple of cartoons here. These seem to be pretty positive.
Yep, giving
So
hope.
far about FDR. If I'm looking at this one, I kind of put them both together here. This is actually.
I see some alphabet soup.
Yep.
I see some PWA, Public Works Administration. The amount of buildings built. I remember I visited Cooperstown a couple years ago, and I'm at Doubleday Field, where the legendary first baseball game was played.
Sure.
But I took a picture that it was built, Doubleday Field in the stadium there, built by the WPA, PWA.
And there's so many projects, parks, schools that were all part of this New Deal program where, again, if you were to list the amount of things that were done just in the WPA, that list is longer than your arm. And you probably might see a plaque associated with it, or you just might stumble upon it in public quite often. But this is a positive picture. We have a backhoe,
Excavator.
excavator, whatever.
And we have a guy working.
Yes.
These programs, the WPA, the PWA, and the WPA put people to work.
Yep.
You cannot argue that the millions of jobs were created by the New Deal.
So some pros we're looking at ends the banking crisis, right? It's employing people. It's doing stuff for the community as well. It's kind of a killing two birds with one stone.
Revitalization.
Yeah. Getting people employed, doing things for the community as well.
Planting trees.
Yep.
The AAA. No, the CCC.
Yeah.
Planting trees around the country. I know you brought up the fact that in New York City, Bill de Blasio is trying to do something similar with the CCC. You know, that he's going to have.
I thought I had it here. I don't.
He's creating a city cleanup corps.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's called the CCC.
Yeah. You know, paying unemployed New Yorkers from the COVID crisis to clean up graffiti, to walk around parks and just pick up garbage.
Right.
You know, and it's putting people to work, and it's cleaning up the city.
And when he rolled that out, you know, everybody who's writing about this is saying, "Hey, that's very, very New Deal-like."
Yes.
Without a doubt. When we're looking here, maybe the eyes again. All right, we're looking at families that are getting relief, and when we're looking at the different areas, New York, Ohio, Illinois, Ohio again, different cities as well. What we start to see is you have 1929, 1930, and 1931 on this one, and you're starting to see the numbers go up in terms of families who are receiving relief, and then of course in terms of individuals who are getting relief. And by relief we mean money.
Yeah. Now, for or against?
Ooh.
Because, you know, here we bring into now perspective.
Yes.
Because some people are going to say this is clearly an argument for the New Deal.
Absolutely.
Because we are helping people in need.
However.
Good job.
Yeah.
You know, on the flip side,
Exactly.
you're going to see people arguing against this. Because what negative impact will this have on the government?
Because the government's spending the money.
It's costing a lot of money.
And so do these
Are people now going to become dependent on this help?
Sure.
Where maybe you know, Joe Schmo down on his luck for a couple of years is like finally going to pull himself up by the bootstraps and get himself a job. Well, now he's like, oh, the government's going to give me some money. I can kind of just, you know, take my time.
That's why it's fun to do these.
Yeah.
Because I went in with the one head, you know, just going, hey, this is pro. Yeah, but then
There's
this is
always
going to
that.
increase the deficit spending.
And honestly, you know, you want to look at like things today. This is, you know, the difference of the two political parties.
Yep.
You know, it's like help those in need, but it's going to cost a lot of money, and
Hands off of
costing money means my taxes are going to go up.
Absolutely. These are kind of all related here, but you know, I'm sure we'll find something in here. But
Yep.
again, we have FDR with a cigarette. People don't use these little things for cigarettes anymore. You're really, really fancy. And he's looking in a mirror, and behind the mirror, you know, the background and all that stuff. I'm kind of getting the impression he's feeling pretty good about himself.
Yeah, if we notice, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7. I'm sure most people have done this when you hold a mirror up to a mirror.
Sure.
And you have that infinite gaze that goes on forever. You know, FDR is going to break from the precedent set by George Washington
I've said it only 2 times.
of walking away after a second term. Now, after FDR's second term, we're talking the election of 40.
Right.
Yeah, election of 1940 is when he decides to run for a third term. And he's like, hey, you don't change the quarterback
You don't.
in the middle of the game.
And the rule book says that you can do this.
Yeah.
Because there is a rule saying
It's
you
just a
can't.
precedent
It is.
that every president has followed.
Yep.
He will be elected to a third term,
Right.
and then eventually a fourth term. So it's almost like, I would say that this is almost depicting an argument against the New Deal, because we're now looking at like Roosevelt, and if you click ahead to the next one, as like a king.
Yeah.
Completely against what Washington wanted, against the idea that one person could have that much power for that long.
And what's probably in the background that you might see there is that, yeah, this power is definitely like going to his head right
Yeah.
here. You know, again, here you have him canceled the Constitution because quite a few of these New Deal programs were considered unconstitutional.
Were declared unconstitutional
Yeah,
by the
absolutely.
Supreme Court.
You know, the Agricultural Adjustment Act being one of them, where
NRA.
you can't pay farmers to, you know, not grow certain crops.
Slaughter their own animals.
Exactly. And if you even look here, you know, the executive branch is much bigger than Congress. Here you have FDR again, you know, as the head of the executive branch, of course, the president, and he wants more power. He wants Congress to give it to him.
And a lot of students don't get Oliver Twist.
No, a lot of them don't.
You know, Charles Dickens, you know, great, you know, orphan growing up in the east side of London, you know, going up asking, please, sir,
Right.
I want some more.
And the funny thing was that he did not grow up a poor orphan. He
No,
grew up as
no,
the
he
only
didn't.
child rich kid.
No, he did not. If
again-
we can just go back for
Yeah.
a second, you know, and if Mr. Heek held up the Constitution, you know, there's a reason why our founding fathers in Article 1 of the Constitution made the legislative branch.
Right.
They wanted the legislative branch to be the most powerful branch of government. But over the years, the power of that executive branch has been expanded to where the president is the most important and powerful figure in our government.
So if we're looking at some negative things to say about him, I mean, the power. I
Yep.
mean, he's definitely, government is becoming too powerful. It's intruding on people's lives. I forgot what I was going to say.
The argument was like, we're governing from the top down,
Yeah,
no
exactly.
longer from the middle out.
And here he is driving a steamroller. A lot of construction material in here.
Yep. Not only is he driving a steamroller, but he seems to be driving a steamroller down a hill.
Right.
You know, almost like an out of control.
Too fast. How are the brakes on the? How are the brakes on this thing? What brakes? He's going, and then of course we have New Deal spending.
So spending is out of control.
Right, and you're going back to that chart where you see the increase of the relief programs, and again we start to see the spending is repeated quite often here. You know, you have people who are saying save. You have, you know, of course, Washington saying spend.
Yeah.
And again, this can be one of these things where you're increasing the deficit spending, just in
Yep.
case I didn't say that before. And again, it comes up again. This is one rabbit that never failed me, spending. And of course, when we're talking about the spending, we have to keep in fact that these are tax dollars. This is the people's money. And, you know, are you really spending it at this point to kind of end the depression, or are you trying to make yourself look good and get reelected?
Yeah.
Those are some arguments that can come up
Because
with.
you always said, what does every president want?
A second term.
Another term.
I took that from the West Wing.
Yeah.
No, the American president, whatever, same thing. All right, so if we're looking at this photo, he did help out the farmers as well. Farmers receiving check from county supervisor. You know, this is some one of those things to help the farmers keep.
And remember, those farmers, they were even struggling before the Depression.
Yeah,
even began.
that's one of those things to keep in mind. And then, of course, we'll be talking about environmental disasters. But again, you're looking at this economic peril that the citizen helped Roosevelt. So let's go to the, just make sure we didn't miss anything. So arguments for these new deals: ended the banking crisis, we got that. Protected farmers, employed people, saved the nation's democratic system.
We really get into that because of the fear of communism.
Right. There is that thing right there where you have people where, you know, they're feeling that democracy's failing them. Government had a responsibility to use its power to help all citizens, and that's what you see FDR doing with these New Deal programs. Some arguments against, right? Let's make sure we got them all. Federal government grew in size and power. We saw those in the cartoons where he's got the big bowl. Government was intruding on people's lives. Again, when you're looking at those political cartoons with the spending cuts coming up, increase the national debt. Big thing here, didn't end the Great Depression, threatens individual freedoms. And again, you see spending coming up again. Government was spending more than it took in. Deficit spending was increasing, so you had spending more than it took in, increased the national debt. And of course, national debt is the total sum of money the government owes.
Yeah.
We miss anything with this? I mean, of course, with documents, we can go on and
On and on.
I mean, I like the fact that, you know, just, you know, when I designed this lesson, I'm like, oh, well, this is positive.
Yeah.
And you're like, it can be that. You know, again, when you're looking at documents, depending on what kind of hat you have on and what you're thinking of, it can be, if you find different ways to interpret it, you can do
Yep.
whatever you can.
All right.
Good. Thanks for watching.
Peace.